2-hour conversation later, and I finally understood what the Meerkat Millionaire Country Club was really all about. Their community just means more to them. Their faith in the community just means more to them. That's what they literally built this project on top of. It's kind of a fascinating concept that they're doing things so differently from almost all of the other NFT projects that we've seen in the past. So what we're going to do in this video is we are going to talk about why the Meerkat Millionaire Country Club is actually different. It's deeper than just what you see on the surface level. Yeah, we're going to address the elephant in the room, or at least chat about it a little bit, and that's going to be the discussion around securities and royalties. Then we're going to talk about where do we think the Meerkat Millionaire Country Club is going and why I am extra bullish on it. Let's go. So one of the things that happened recently, actually, you know what? I'm going to do my disclaimers first because I feel I need to get this out of the way before I start I'm just vomiting into the microphone because I've got a lot to talk about in this video. Disclaimers. There's going to be a lot of financial talk and there's going to be a lot of legal talk in this video. I'm a professional in neither the finance world or the legal world. None of these things that you're going to see in this video should ever be construed as either legal or financial advice. I am just an average Joe off the street having a conversation with my friends about things that I'm super passionate about. You should always fact check me and do your own research and absolutely do what's best for you and your situation because everybody's situation is totally different. Okay, so now let's dive into it. This week was a tumultuous week for Solana NFTs and crypto Twitter. People's personalities, I don't really know what to say about this because it almost felt like I was watching like political commentary where everybody's just drawing their line in the sand and they're either saying you're either with us or you're against us, and they've got their pitchforks and they're saying my project's cooler than yours, and it either reminded me of adults in politics or it reminded me of like high school cliques. There was nothing in between. There was very little rational and loving discourse going on, and it was pretty disappointing. What I kind of grasp, and when I go into these projects and I invest in these projects, I'm investing in what the project believes in. And one of the cool things about, diversity and diversification is that projects can believe in a bunch of different things. And I can spread my risk about, and I can explore how does this project really do what they do, and how does that contrast to what they do over there. And neither of them are particularly bad. But what we saw this week was a lot of chatter of really what comes down to geckos versus meerkats. But there's, the bigger picture is royalties versus not, or intellectual property versus not. All of that kind of came up this week. But I saw a lot of animosity between those two particular communities. So I reached out to both teams. I reached out to their, their personal DM. So I DM'd the community manager for one of the projects, and then DM'd each of the project's official Twitters themselves. So I reached out to the geckos and I reached out to the meerkats, and I effectively said the same message that, look, I'm seeing a lot of negativity, a lot of FUD in the space. I'd love to chat with you to, hear your take about what's going on, and maybe I can provide a medium like my Twitter account or my YouTube account or something like that where we could actually talk about this, or I could talk about this and kind of clear the air and, get some love back in the system here. Let's calm everybody down and clear it out. The geckos didn't reply at all. They literally just left it sitting there and ignored me. The meerkats, on the other hand, we went back and forth through DM so much that at some point we got to a point where we're like, look, we just need to get on a Zoom call. Like we're going back and forth. Like we just need to have a conversation. And it was like a multiple hours long conversation that I had with them, not just about the meerkats and not just about the landscape that we're in, but cryptocurrency in general, the ethos of cryptocurrency. Why does it exist? And why did they build their project in the way that they did, given the landscape that we're in and everything like that? And it was a really fascinating conversation. So disappointed that the geckos didn't reply to me, especially when I've been a huge supporter from them from the get-go. But I also understand that They probably got a lot going on right now. There's probably a lot on their plates, and this doesn't affect my relationship with them, at least not in my regard. I'm still extraordinarily bullish on the Geckos, and I love what they're doing over there, even if it's kind of in contrast with what we're seeing out of the Meerkats. So what is it that we're seeing out of the Meerkats? What is this? You know what? I think we should address the elephant in the room first, and that's going to be the discussion of royalties. So let's talk about the structure on the face level about how the Meerkats operate and why this is, what people are talking about this in the cryptocurrency and crypto Twitter world. So, like always, I like to begin my research on Twitter because usually I can find all of the relevant links that I actually care about on Twitter by going to, the official page here. And here I've got pulled up the Meerkat Millionaires Country Club. Where I then go next when I'm doing my research is the official website. Now, a lot of these websites, they're pretty generic. They're a static website. There's nothing much that you can really interact with outside of some links here. But the thing about the Meerkat Millionaires Country Club is what they hit you with, this twist. What's the twist? 100% of the royalties go to mentors and to holders. What does that mean? Well, if you're brand new to NFTs, let me introduce you to this concept. Meerkat Millionaires Country Club were created by people. Let's just call them the creators, right? And what they do is they create 10,000, or I guess in this case, 9,999 Meerkats. I'm going to round up to 10K just because it's a nice clean number and I can write 10K and I don't want to write 9.999. So anyways, they sell these, on the open market. This is their initial offering is to offer 10,000 Meerkats roughly to the public, and people can come along and mint them. In this case, they minted for 1 SOL a pop. So and then from there, this is where it gets really interesting. They then go into secondary markets, right? And this is going to be like your Solon Arts, your Alpha art markets, your Magic Eden, and something like that. And every time one of these 10K Meerkats changes hands, a very interesting thing happens. There is a percentage of that sales price that goes back to the creators. This is how it typically works in all NFTs. The NFTs can get perpetual income to maintain and run their project for the end of time, for the rest of time. That's really what they've got going on here. So the interesting thing about the Meerkats is instead of pocketing that money, they turn around and give 100% of all of those secondary sales royalties back to the people who have Meerkats in their possession. It's kind of a fascinating concept. In fact, they've even started working on ways and getting ways that if you list your Meerkat, you're still going to get the royalty. You're still going to get it. It's kind of a fascinating thing that they have figured out a way to do that. So if I scroll down just a little bit, there's a little bit more detail. Let me kind of zoom in a little bit right here and scroll up just to there. So mentors, if you are an original mentor of a Meerkat, you'll receive 15% of that royalty. And for all secondary market sales to come, and for all holders, they'll receive 85% of that royalty. So if you mint and hold, you're getting 100% of your share of the royalties. If you just bought off secondary, then you're going to get 85% of the royalties. So this begs the question. This is literally the first question that I asked coming from a bit of a business background. Why did you give all of your money away? I've often thought, one of the biggest advantages to running an NFT project isn't necessarily the multi-million-dollar raise that you're going to do whenever you mint. It's actually the perpetual income. If you're a well-run project for the rest of your life, as long as that project has some form of a pulse, you will make money every single month. And lots of times it's good money. But the Meerkats turned around and they gave every single penny of it, 100% of that perpetual income back to the people. And that was literally my first question. I got in the call and I asked them, why 100%? Why did you give all of your money away? And this was their explanation that really floored me and made me take a step back and realize how different this project was. From the get-go, these people who are running this project, let's scroll down just a hair. Let me show you. If we scroll down just a hair, the people who are actually running this project is an organization called Venus Labs. They're very, very well organized. The fact that they even have this kind of project should kind of speak volumes to itself. It's no different from Larva Labs or Yuga, right? Who run CryptoPunks and Bored Ape Yacht Club. they're very, very organized and very, very professional and good at what they do. But they said, we all come from experiences where we have some understanding of how business management works. If we're going to draw it out, it's going to look like this. If we were to draw out a typical business, at the very top, you have your board of directors. And really what the board of directors is they're people who own the business usually, and they are elected to represent the owners of the business. These are the people who, bought a lot of stock, and they want to have ultimate say about the direction that the business should go on. And then, but they don't want to actually manage the day-to-day operations of it. They don't even want to manage the year-to-year operations of it. The next thing that they do is they oftentimes choose the C-suite executives. These are going to be your CEOs, CIOs, CMOs, CFOs, and those types of people. Now, they end up choosing the direction that their respective department should go through. They're going to choose what we're going to do, for this year or this quarter, things like that. CEO sees the entire business. CFO sees the financial aspects of the business. CIO manages the IT or IS or development portions of the business. You get the idea. From there, it oftentimes goes down to something like vice presidents who sit over respective departments in that section. And then from there, it goes to middle management. These are people who are going to manage more or less the week-to-week or month-to-month operations of the business. Then from there, it can go to lower management or basically, your endpoint. This is where your frontline workers are. And what you should be digesting when you hear this is that it is a top-down flow of management, resources, and money. This is how 99% of all businesses today operate. Is there's at the very top, there's people who make a generic call as to the direction the business should go on, or an idea, and then there's people who just slowly go down the chain, implementing it at a more specific level. The same thing goes with that, is that the money follows the same direction. You start off with the most money at top, and then it gets down, 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 down. Now that goes not only just talking about how much money these people make, but it's also talking about how much control do they have over the budget and the spend. All of this dictates that a typical business flows from the very top and goes down, it trickles down to the very bottom. The Meerkat ethos, the entire point of the Meerkat Millionaires Country Club is to do it from the bottom up. Basically, instead of having the people in charge of the project, they said, we're going to give all of the money, literally all of the money, back to every single person in the ecosystem. And because every single person gets that equal share of the money, they then have total control over what they do with this money. Basically, it's like their own vote at the end of the day. Some people could choose to band together and, pool their money to do something. Other people could pocket the money and walk away. It's up to them. Totally up to you what you want to do. But their idea that they had here was that people would start to believe in this ethos. People would start to believe that they are now the ones who are truly empowered because they're the ones who are in control of their share of the money. And since this is a unique thing and it's a kind of a fun thing to be a part of, it makes a lot of sense that we should all work together with all of our share of the money and do something to grow this organization even more than it is. I could pocket some of the money myself, but then I could take some of that money and, start a merchandise line. I could take some of that money and start a street art, hire a street artist to go out there and actually paint up some meerkats. Heck, if I really wanted to, I could create a comic book or, a Netflix TV show, and I could absolutely, try and fund it with all of these royalties myself. Or go to the community and say, look, I've got this idea, and I think if we all take our royalties together and put it into some sort of a shared wallet or a DAO or something like that, then we could actually bolster the reputation of the Meerkat Millionaires Country Club and build this project from the ground up 100% community driven. community is actually a pretty big deal. I mean, we've seen it with, the classics like the Bored Ape Yacht Club, but we've also seen it in very recent history with the Pesky Penguins, haven't we? How much power community at the end of the day, community will make or break your entire business. It absolutely will. And the Meerkat Millionaires Country Club, their entire thought was, we're going to give it all to the community, everything, and we'll let them decide if they want to build this thing up or not. And what we've seen is just that. The people who are in the Meerkat Millionaires Country Club are actually really committed to being in the Meerkat Millionaires Country Club. Check this out. Earlier this week, Amber here, who goes under the Twitter handle @painted__gypsy, she took to the streets and actually painted this super cool meerkat on the screen. This was I asked him, hey, did you guys did you hire her to do that or anything? We had no clue that was going on. Just totally caught us off guard. And that's just the community doing things. Now, if you scroll up a little more, Amber says, I painted 6 more meerkats today. And that just shows part of the enthusiasm of this community. The other crazy thing about this is this wasn't the only street art implementation of the meerkats. Another street artist painted a meerkat right next to a red panda. Now, I love my red pandas and the red panda squads, my favorite project ever, right? But to see those two next to each other on the side of what was effectively a subway car, I thought that was really, really cool. And the crazy thing about this is the meerkats at the time had only been out 8 days. They've only been in existence in 8 days, and already the community is starting this viral love and viral spread about it. Now, I mentioned the idea of merch, and right here on their Discord, I want to point this out. This is one of the best communities in all of Discord. I really, really love this. But right there, if we're drawing our eyes to this part, I asked did somebody say they had a Shopify coming up that they were building out to build merch? And they said, not sure if it was Shopify, but this person right here, this community member, is already got merch in the works. In fact, literally as I hit stop recording here, the actual artists themselves posted a quick little preview of one of the sweaters that they have in the works right there. It's amazing. This is so cool. And I love seeing this kind of empowerment. And the thing that I want to stress right here, the big deal about all this is, remember, this project is only a few days old at this point. Not even 2 weeks at this point. And people have already been oh, I get to say what's going on next. Okay, I'll take matters in my own hands and I'll build my own merch, or I'll do whatever I want to do with this. Or we'll group together because they are forming a DAO. And then that kind of begs the question, well, why didn't Meerkats form a DAO in the first place and then dump all of these funds, into the DAO or anything like that? And that actually goes back to their original ethos. When it comes to a DAO, oftentimes there's selectivity in it, right? It's the people who participate in the DAO, or it's the people who get voted into the DAO that actually get a say in how things work. We skip that. We cut out all middleman in this situation. Everybody gets their fair share, and if they want to participate, they can. And what we're seeing, that a lot of people, especially in this community, really believe in this ethos. They really believe in this method of doing things. They really like the feeling of being empowered and to be a part of this community. And they're absolutely already putting forth commitments to do things to make it better. In fact, I'm literally watching the community right now talk about merchandise ideas. And Fong, the artist here, says we'll even have more designs that we'll vote on as a community about how they're going to roll out. And this stuff, you can't help but get excited when people who have the right expertise step up to the plate and take matters into their own hands and just start building. That's even wear your polos to the annual Meerkat golf tournament. That's hilarious because it's awesome. And I would absolutely do that. I would absolutely participate in that, even though I'm not a very good golfer. So I guess I just, once I actually got into the club, once I actually got in, once I actually started listening to what it is that they're trying to do, what it is that they're trying to build, and how they believe in what they're doing as a way of empowering their community, then it actually clicked. Then I actually saw the light and I went, oh, that is really cool. I do really get it. Now, that's not to say that, if your project isn't doing this right now, that you should go do it. That's not what I'm saying. You need to do what you do. It's my investment thesis now as someone who's going to invest in the Meerkat Millionaires Country Club it's not so much that I'm going to invest so that I can get a royalty. It's so that I can invest so that I can get a royalty so that I can put it back into the Meerkat Millionaires Country Club in a way that I believe will be the most beneficial way for the community and the organization and the project itself. That to me is what they were really trying to do. Everybody's like, I want to buy a Meerkat so that I can get a royalty, and they're like, you're one step away. Just one step away. Then you now have the option to do what you want to with that royalty. You can keep it. Nothing wrong with that. You could go buy another NFT in a different project if that's what you want to do. The idea was they wanted you to be empowered to do whatever you want. Or if you believe, like I believe now, that this concept and the things that they're trying to do are unique and special enough that it's worthy of taking some of that royalty or all of that royalty and putting it back into the community in a way that's really, really beneficial for the project itself, then you could do that. So that's why they are doing things like forming a DAO where they can take collections for a community dollar or raise money in different ways that they can and do that. Now, on the same topic of, generating income for this particular project, the concept of intellectual property came up in a big way this week too. Again, centered around the Gecko's drama, in particular with how they handled, the fallout with alpha art and everything like that. It's worth pointing out that the Geckos offer some limited form of intellectual property. It's once you start to generate income over $100,000, I believe that's the interpretation, then you have to clear it with them. And you also, have to be careful about how you use their images and everything like that. And I think that's why they butted heads a little bit with alpha art, and that all fell apart. Nonetheless, that's kind of some drama there. So this prompted me to go back to the Meerkats and ask them, well, what about your IP? Are you retaining IP? And they were like, no, dude. The entire point of our project is to empower the community. If you can take your Meerkat and make $50 million selling it to Netflix, then do it. Have at it. It's yours. We want the community to do what they need to do. And that's why I was like, you guys are like literally living what you're trying to say. It's literally what you're trying to do. Now, the moment you've been waiting for, securities, royalties. This has been a really, 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 really hot topic in the last week, in large part because, again, the Geckos had a Spaces last Friday where they said that they would never do royalties, in large part because their counsel advised them not to, because then the royalty reward that's given back to a holder of an NFT, that could be construed as like a dividend, and at that point, it could be interpreted as a security itself. So, that just caused a just tremendous fallout in like all of Solana NFTs because so many projects offered royalties and now a lot of them have stopped to offer these royalties in order to be listed on FTX or whatever their interpretation is or whatever their motivation is. The Meerkats kind of went in the opposite direction. The Meerkats, they were open about this, that they met with FTX and they talked about potential solutions, but a lot of those solutions, if not all of those solutions, took the power away from the community. At some point, every single individual member would not have the same level of empowerment that they had before. Now, I'm not privy to the details. I'm not privy to these solutions. I'm kind of just going off of, what I've heard at this point. So maybe fact check me on these things. Maybe don't take them as gospel, but this is my interpretation of how it all kind of felt out. So the Meerkats felt like it was in their best interest, and more so their community's best interest, that they just keep doing what they're doing the way that they're doing, instead of changing really the entire model for their entire project that they set out to build from the very beginning just to conform to a new marketplace. I get that, and I have a lot of respect for that too. So the question then becomes, how seriously should you take the looming threat of the SEC regulations? So there's a lot of confusion about this right now. And again, I am not a lawyer. And in any stretch of I took one semester of business law. I don't even remember anything that happened. It was like a summer school semester that I took. So it was, anyways, I'm not a professional in this. This is just my assumptions and my interpretation of what's going on. Again, ask somebody else who knows more than me about this stuff. But here's how I feel about this. First of all, the SEC or any of the courts in the United States have not actually made a ruling or any sort of legislation yet surrounding NFTs. In fact, you could make that same argument about like most products in cryptocurrency in general right now. There is not a lot of guidance in general in cryptocurrency across the board. Like, there's not. If you're worried about this, I feel like you should be worried about crypto in general. For instance, did you watch my video on what is decentralized finance or what is DeFi and how do you get started in it? If you remember, a pretty big chunk of it was when you deposit money into a liquidity pool, they give you a token back. And that token grows a lot, all the time. Like something like every 2 hours, it gets bigger. It's kind of the idea, and that's why I've often stressed that if you're really in crypto for passive income, NFTs aren't even the best place to look. You can get better passive income in a lot of other places, especially in DeFi. Then there's also this concept of shitcoins, where these coins reflect all of their trades back to them. We saw this with like SafeMoon. We saw this with like Kishu Inu, and there's a lot of other, like Bonfire. There's a lot of coins out there that have reflections going into it just built into the coin itself. So then we get into DeFi even further, or shitcoins even further, and we find out that like half of them are scams. They're not even real, or they're there to rug pull you, or they're kind of just a Ponzi scheme this whole time where one coin just feeds another coin, which feeds another coin, which feeds another coin, but none of them actually have any real utility. So when I'm hearing all of this FUD, is that Meerkats as a whole, or NFTs as a whole, like, they're not even big. The Solana DeFi ecosystem now has over $10 billion of total value locked in it. What is like the market cap for NFTs? Like a fraction of that. And that's that. You could take that assumption and absolutely apply that to all of the other blockchains like Polygon, AVAX, BSC, Phantom, Ethereum. DeFi in general is just significantly bigger. And shitcoins, like SafeMoon at one point had like a multi-billion-dollar market cap. If I'm the SEC, again, all assumptions, not legal advice, not financial advice, do what you think is best. But if I'm the SEC, am I going to go after NFTs first? These tiny little projects which have like a couple $1,000,000? Or am I going to go after the DeFi farm, which has $1.3 billion locked in it, doing some sort of Ponzi scheme, handing back liquidity pool tokens that are growing for some God knows what reason? You know, you see what I mean? Like, the entire space that we're in is risky right now. And one of the reasons that we're in this space in general is the fact that there's not a lot of regulation in it. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me to kind of dwell on the headline and have this humongous echo chamber going back and forth where everybody's repeating everybody when nobody's really thought of the big picture yet, right? Like, if you left NFTs, you'd just be in something else riskier that's more at threat of legislation and regulation at that time. So again, I'm not telling you that this isn't a threat, that it's not looming. I am telling you that, in my opinion, my humble, honest, average Joe opinion, I'm not too terribly concerned about this right now. The other thing that gives me peace of mind when it comes to this is the conversation that I had with the team themselves. The team is, or at least the member that I spoke to in particular, one of the main guys, is really, 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 really smart. Like, really smart. And I have the utmost faith that they're communicating to all the right people in all the right ways that a solution will come into play. I believe, not that they didn't tell me anything. I don't know anything, okay? Like, I'm just telling you that the impression that they gave me is, you know, we're able to cooperate and navigate any choppy seas that come our way. That's the impression that I got. More than anything, they are truly committed to the original purpose of why they created this, and I believe that this team is smart enough to navigate the waters and do everything in such a way that they won't have to sacrifice their original ethos. I just don't believe that they would do that. But I time will tell, I guess. But I really, yeah, I feel good about these guys. So the project is launched now. Where are they headed? This is a big question. I kind of touched on this in a previous video. Let's scroll down just a hair. I think there are a few things. The foundation we are laying is for a multi-project, multi-year development plan. They also point out our next projects will begin to empower this original community. This, again, circles back to their ethos, which I think is really, really fantastic. They have a lot of things planned, a lot of really cool things planned. Some of the things they told me about, some of the things they said they can't tell me about. So, a little bit of secret. One of the things they told me about, they told me I could hint at it. And it was something like, to the effect of, it would be nice if you were a Meerkat holder in the next few days. Wink, wink. So, one of the cool things about being a Meerkat holder is that all of the projects, every single one, multi-year project, multi-year development, every single thing that they launch from here on out will tie back to the Meerkats in some way, and that way will be in such that it will benefit Meerkat holders for holding. All of the things that they launch in the future all come back. They're all being done to benefit the Meerkat holders in some way. Again, it goes back to the community empowerment aspect. So the Meerkats were the foundation. We have the base. We have the people. We have the community. Now the things that we build on top of it feed the Meerkats in some unique and individual way, which I think is pretty fascinating. Now, again, some of those things I know about, some of those things I don't have a single clue about. And I think you'll be pretty excited that you have been involved with this community if you are. So I think it's a really, really cool thing that the roadmap is actually a little sparse. At first it gave me a little pause, but now that I actually understand what the point of their project is, it's that the people dictate the roadmap. And all of these additional things that they're going to do along the way will help the people dictate their own roadmap. They literally get to choose their own adventure from this point out. I think that's a really, really cool concept. Beyond that, I really like the art. I mean, I do. The artwork was, at first I thought it was a little plain, a little simple. Let's actually check this out. If I go to my profile, then I jump over to my Solstead, hopefully my Meerkats will be kind of grouped together. We're going to find out. There's a couple there. So I really like the gold backgrounds. I think that really gives a cool but soft pop to it. And then this one particularly, the tiger with the smile, the closed eyes, it really resonated with me. It looked really good on the gold background. Of course, I had to get gold fur with laser eyes. Super rare. I like the rare things. Got some floor Meerkats here, which I think is really cool. Always addicted to cheetah. I think cheetah on blue background looks really good. The thing about these Meerkats, you guys, and the artwork itself, I want to say this, is that when you're thumbing through Twitter, they're the ones that catch my eye. It fits really, really well into the little bubble. It makes a really good profile picture. They're also not like over the top with too much going on. It's, shoulder or chest up only. They're looking up and to the left. It's really tastefully and well designed with simplistic natures, but it's also pretty cool that they kept it kind of a Millionaires Country Club. So they're all wearing like designer glasses and they wear gold chains and stuff. And I think it's fun. It's kind of funny. There's my robot. So now, how do you snipe good deals? There's a ton of good deals in the Meerkat marketplace right now. Mainly because, in general, what we're seeing across the board is a significant reduction. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to alpha for this one. In prices across the board, across like every single community we're seeing. The Meerkats still hold one of the very highest volumes on all of the Solana blockchain. Of course, they're, neck and neck with like the Thugbirds and things like that, but they have a significant amount of volume across all blockchains. And it's my understanding this is where Alpha gets a lot of their data, as it all comes directly from the chain. So when we actually go to Alpha and we start exploring the Meerkats, when you scroll down and you look at things like fur, you see this huge number, like black has 1,711. That's because on the chain, there are 1,711 of them. Compare that to 55 zombies, that tells me that the zombies are pretty rare. You click on them and then you can actually see, kind of what the attributes and the styles look like, and it's It's all kind of fun and good. But now where do the rankings come in? Well, there's two ranking systems in this town now. We've got How Rare, which everybody knows and loves, and they're very familiar with it. If we scroll on down to the Meerkats, if you've watched my content on how to snipe good deals, nothing here will catch you off guard. It's all still here. But a competing rule to this is Moonrank. I think it's moonrank.io. Oh no, it's moonrank.app. That's right. I keep saying IO. Moonrank.app. So Moonrank.app does things a little differently. When How Rare or other organizations or other businesses, or like, the Geckos or whatever, they put significant weights on specific attributes because the people have deemed them desirable. And based on those weights and those desirability traits, that's how they determine what the rank is on How Rare. When it comes to Moonrank, they take weights out of the equation entirely, and it literally goes just based off of the scarcity of all of the combination of attributes that are displayed on the screen. So you're going to get two different ranks based on whether or not it's truly a scarce meerkat that you're looking at here, or if it's got a specific set of traits that give it a different ranking score. It depends on which system you want to go by. Now, I personally, because I'm a degen, I like to go based on scarcity. Those are the harder ones to find, in my opinion. But there is something to be said about aesthetic nature and weights and things like that. I've said it a million times about geckos, that the ranks can just get thrown out entirely because 4 attributes are truly scarce, but they also look better. I've said it a million times. There are arguments to that make a whole lot of sense. So anyways, using these tools here, there are a bunch of different ways that you could find out where the good deals exist right now. Now, the floor for the Meerkats, a lot of people like to talk about floor, and there's nothing wrong with talking about floor unless you're obsessing about the floor. Floor doesn't dictate the health of a project. Not even close. Not even close. But it does dictate people's entry point to enter the club, as well as people's willingness to leave the club. And that's why I think it's a pretty important thing. It's also, Big Brain made a big tweet about this recently, how it's an interesting investment thesis because that's where the most liquidity is. It makes a lot of sense to buy up floor Meerkats or anything else that you want to buy if your goal is to just make a profit, because as the project moves up, you can still post on the floor and you'll gain liquidity the quickest as more people are trying to enter there. It's harder to sell rare is another way to put it. Now I'm oversaturated in rares right now. I would like to actually sell some of my rares and start buying up more floors. That's actually how I would play the Meerkats right now if I could do it over again. But now I'm just, sitting on my rares and I'm going to hold them. And I really like what they have coming planned. I really think it's going to be some cool stuff. So there are some tools there that will help you snipe some. Ooh, I really like that Cheetah King. Anyways, so this has been the Meerkat Millionaires Country Club. I think they are doing something unique. I think they're doing something special. There's a lot of FUD about it right now, but I think it's really just that uncertainty. And I think when people look bigger than their backyard for just a moment, they'll realize relatively quickly that the entire space that we're in right now is uncertain. And in my opinion, which again is just an average Joe's opinion, it's not legal or financial, I'm not representing anybody when I say this, is just that there are bigger fish to fry than, a $2 million NFT project right now, when there's $600 million DeFi projects out there that are also scamming people. These are things that actually happen out there in the real world. So I don't know. Just my personal take that if you're really, really worked up about this, you should ask yourself, and again, this is me telling you honestly, not trying to criticize you, but honestly tell yourself to do your own research and consider what is your investment thesis in crypto in the first place. And then what is your investment thesis in the Meerkats in the first place. I've also said this to begin with. The royalties are really, really nice, but they're not, I'm not buying to get royalties. If I want passive income, I will go to DeFi or I will stake coins or something like that. I'm really in NFTs for capital appreciation at the end of the day. And the royalty that comes back is just a nice bonus. If it were to go away for me personally, I wouldn't be that upset with it. But I don't believe it will go away in the event of the Meerkats because they're just so gung-ho about the entire point of their project being about empowering the community, which I think is really, really cool. So with that being said, this has been the Meerkat Millionaires Country Club. Thanks for stopping by, y'all. I'll see you in the next one.